Well, congratulations to me. I did it. I finally did it. These are the papers that say I now own a lot in Playa de Chapultepec. And at the end, it was getting a little dicey, I'll tell you. Because in the beginning, they said, oh, yeah, there's no problem. You can wire the money in, to pay when the time comes. And then when we got, I don't know, maybe a month out, they said, oh, we need you to send a wire a day in advance of the closing. And I went, yeah, that's not happening. Oh, no. I may be a stupid American, and I may be born yesterday, which I wasn't. I was born almost 84 years ago. But I'm not paying you a day in advance. I'm not paying you until the seller is there in the room with me and has signed the title papers. Well, they say, oh, okay, well, that won't be a problem. You can just send us a check. We bring a check. And I said, oh, as long as it has your account number and your name. And I said, okay. I went, huh, okay. Okay, because the seller lives in the United States. He's Mexican. He lives in the United States, and he had an American account. So I didn't think it would be a problem. But anyway, at the very last moment, they changed their mind, like 5 days before. Oh my God. And they say, you have to bring us a certified check. And that would have meant, oh, I don't even want to go into the United States. And let me just say something about going to the United States. Have I said this before? For you who are worried about the border, it takes 3 to 6 hours to get through the United States border, going through Tijuana, going through San Ysidro, which is the largest, most used land border entry in the world. Or sometimes Tecate, maybe you can get through for 2 hours. And I went, oh, man, I'm old, I can't do this anymore. Please let me bring my computer, let me bring my laptop to the office, and I will wire him the money. I had already wired him his deposit that way, and he'd had it within an hour. By the way, he had it sooner, but he checked after an hour. I said, please, don't make the old lady go across the border, please. And they said, okay. So I brought my laptop with me. I signed up for the notary's Wi-Fi. Bingo, bango, boombo. The guy had it in 15 minutes. He had the money in 15 minutes. So now I'm the owner of it, and I have put a mobile home on it. It's huge. It's like 1,200 square feet. It's like 55 by 22 feet. It takes up almost half the lot, which I didn't realize it would. Now, I want to say that I've always been prejudiced, I don't know about other people, against double wides. Because, to me, it was like a sign of failure. Now, I know there's a mobile home community in Malibu where you can't get in for under $2 million. That's for the mobile home. I don't know what the rent is. And this is a lot, and I own the lot, so I don't have to pay any rent on it after I pay for it. And I'll tell you how much I paid for it. I paid $68,000 for it. And you should know something when you buy in Mexico. Most deals are in cash. There's like very few deals where there's a mortgage. If you're a Mexican, you can probably get a mortgage. To get a mortgage, you have to show income here. And most expatriates, most Americans and Canadians, they're not getting their income from Mexico. And if they are, they're paying a different tax. So, but it was huge. And the inside had already been redesigned by the woman who sold it to me. And she did a very, very good job. Really kind of looks like a condominium inside. It's really, and it was drywall and insulated. And that is the reason, by the way, I wanted to not buy a house here in Mexico. I have looked at, I don't even want to say how many, a lot. Because I've looked for about 12 years. I actually had owned a house here in Punta Banda where I'm now staying, waiting for this to be done. And it was stick-built, and that stick-built is very common in the United States. The other thing that's common in the United States are lawns, green lawns, even if you're living in Nevada, green lawns, which I think is horrible waste. But green lawns have always been a symbol, the rolling lawns of wealth. Rich people had lawns, big, beautiful green lawns. And so it's still a sign of wealth in the United States. But here, two things. First of all, except in more inland, there's a lot of drought in Mexico. If you live in the mountains, maybe not. And so people tend to not have any kinds of gardens or lawn. And I very much wanted some greenery around me, not a lawn, which I think is a grievous waste of water. But I wanted a couple of trees, hibiscus plants, color. And every house I looked at, there was just nothing. There were like sometimes a little patio or a terrace, and they were very much enamored of views, which is like upstairs you could see the ocean. as I said, I had bought a house and the upstairs was stick built, which is drywall, insulation, and wood, which is the most common way, and stucco, which is very, very common in the United States, but not so common here. They're cement block houses, and I guess the original idea was cement blocks used to be very cheap. They're not so cheap anymore. Cheapest cement block here is 26 pesos, which is about around $2.25 a peso. But I wanted cafe color cement blocks for my fence, which is 41 pesos, it's around $3 a block. And I'm building a wall that's 6 feet by 32 feet. You do the math, I'm not gonna. Anyway, the point was that I looked at all these houses, and I've even rented some houses that were cement block. And let me tell you something about cement block. If you would like to be really, really cold in winter, cement blocks for you. And if you would really like to be horribly hot in the summertime, cement block is for you. Okay, it holds heat and it holds cold, and there's no warming it up. There's just no warming it up in winter. I'm sorry. The other thing is that there's very rare to find central heating in Mexico. So I looked at all these houses that were built like fortresses, because there was a time in Mexico when robberies were very, very common. That's happening less now. I'm not exactly sure why, or maybe it's just happening. My housekeeper would not agree with that, because she lives up in the hills in a neighborhood that's up and coming. It's a lower middle class, working class neighborhood. And they're very, very concerned about robbery. In fact, I gave her my old Honda, which is still a great Honda, I'll tell you that. When I bought the new one, we'll talk about that in another video. And the first thing she did was put an alarm system in it. And I was like, really? Because I'd already had a club, because when I first came back to Mexico, I was living up in the Rosarito area, where they do have a lot of robbery. I'm sorry, Rosarito, but it's true and you all know it. Anyway, I now own this, and we will soon begin the process of remodeling it, because the outside is like, oh, please help me. We're putting in sliding doors, and we're putting a deck around it, and we're painting it, and we're doing some landscaping. And so my friend Angel, or what you call Angel, who also helped me with the move, as did Jacob, who is the contractor on this and who you will also meet, we'll show you the process from the ground up. I actually just applied to get, oh my God, sewer, drainage. It doesn't have drainage. The lot doesn't have drainage. We just applied on Friday for that, and I understand. I said, well, how long will it take? He said, we don't know. We guess 2 weeks to a month, which is why I'm continuing to rent here in this lovely place, is that my friend Urca owns her guest house. I'm staying in Punta Banda. That, once the water is in, we can start with the garden, and we'll see about the lights. I understand putting on, we call it la luz, la lights, or electricity. That's actually, you can get that in 24 hours. So you should know that if you do it. So this is my new venture, and stay with me for late-breaking developments.